Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be showing an updated Drytron deck profile for the October or post-October ban list format. The deck's obviously it's in an interesting kind of place. I mean, with Tearlaments being the definite best deck, it would seem. Drytron's an interesting place in that a lot of what hits Tearlaments definitely hits Drytron. So as far as playing this in events and things, the hand trap lineup and things that people would be playing definitely does hit Drytron. So it's in an interesting spot. But I have a combo, and then I'll show the deck profile as well for a list that definitely would work against Tearlaments specifically. The end board is pretty good, and I'll show the combo first, and then I'll show the deck profile. So the combo wouldn't be a Drytron deck profile or combo, sorry, if it wasn't just Alpha and Zeta, which of course is the bread and butter of Drytron combos. So we are going to start off very standard, Alpha Tribute Zeta, of course, and that is going to search for Ben 10. Then we can Zeta Tribute Ben 10 and grab out Medionus with Ben 10 searching for Diviner. Okay, from here, overlay for Mu Beta, and Mu Beta is going to send Gamma to the graveyard. Next up, we will normal summon Diviner of the Herald, going to send Herald of the Arclight, and we'll use that to grab Ben 10. From here, we will activate Medionus. We will use one of the materials off Fafnir and summon back the Ben 10. Now, at this point, that was our 5th summon, so our opponent can Nibiru us here, and from this point onwards, but I mean, they're obviously they're not incentivized to Nibiru us here because we've got Gamma live in graveyard with Ben 10 in hand. Obviously, if they Nibiru now, they trigger Ben 10 here. They wouldn't nib here. The next point though is where they would Nibiru if they did, and obviously if they did, I'm not up there, put Zolkin down here. If they did, then yeah, obviously the end board is not going to be the same, but we still definitely can play. We've got Gamma, Medionus, Ben 10, still things that can be done as far as establishing a board. But what's going to happen here is we'll go Medionus target Mu Beta Fafnir, reducing its attack and adding this back to hand. And then we can set the Mu Beta Fafnir to trigger the Zolkin, which will summon out Crystal Wing. Okay, so now obviously Nibiru is not a threat unless it's paired with something else, but we can fairly safely combo from here. We're going to use the Gamma in the graveyard, distributing the Ben 10 in our hand. Gamma will summon out, and will summon out a friend, and the Ben 10 in hand is going to trigger. It's going to search for Chaos Valkyria. Okay, from here, what we're going to do is we are going to overlay Alpha and Gamma into Lyrilusk Recital Starling. Now, this card obviously has seen a little play in the Lyrilusk Tri-Brigade decks. I think, even if I wasn't playing necessarily this variant of Drytron moving forward, this is something that I would be trying to include, definitely this format specifically, because obviously you can detach. We're not going to use its effect yet though. It can search for DD Crow, which against Tearlaments is very strong. But what we're going to do now is we're going to activate our Medionus that was set. We're going to take our material off Mu Beta. We're going to summon back Ben 10. Now what we're going to do is we're going to link Ben 10 and Mu Beta Fafnir into Artifact Dagda. And then we shall trigger Recital Starling. So detach, chain Dagda, going to set Scythe, and we're going to search for DD Crow. So obviously being able to search DD Crow is quite big this format. Definitely does help against Tier. And then from here, we're actually going to tribute both of these, Ultima and Recital, in order to special summon Elder Entity Entis. Sorry, it doesn't tribute, it sends them. So we're sending them to the graveyard as a bit of a contact fusion to summon Entis. It's how you are able to summon it. It needs a Synchro and an Xyz monster. So we've got Recital and Zolkin to do that. And then we're going to summon out our Chaos Valkyria by banishing the Zolkin. And we're going to overlay 4 Abyss Dweller. We had to kind of sequence it that way. Now this combo is not new. Definitely there are videos out there. Logan JYA, for example, definitely has a combo version similar to this, except rather than making Recital styling, you kind of use the extra body to turn Dagda into Elf, Sprite Elf that is, to be able to bring back the Diviner in your opponent's turn and use it to send a second Entis to pop on your opponent's turn, which is definitely strong. It does use extra deck space, additional extra deck space that this kind of variant definitely doesn't have. So what this end board is here, is that obviously we've got Dweller, and in our opponent's draw phase, once they pass priority to you, you can detach from Dweller, the Entis specifically, to use the effect of Dweller. Then your opponent here needs to have 2 forms of quick effect negation that obviously doesn't interfere with Crystal Wing, because Crystal Wing can negate monster-based hand traps, though not really many of them are that quick effect negation that would stop this. So they have to either choose to, if they've only got 1, for example, so they've got the 1 Imperm, they need to either negate Dweller or they will need to negate Scythe, because on the next chain, the Entis can target the Scythe to do that. Now, obviously, there are other cards they can have. They could have something like a Cosmic Cyclone on the Scythe as well. So there's definitely cards, but they need 2 pieces of that quick effect removal to be able to deal with both of your forms of interruption. And I guess even if they are able to then deal with both of them, depending on what they have used, you've still got Crystal Wing and the DD Crow. I guess if they use Droplet as one of them and they stop Crystal Wing, and then they're able to stop the Scythe also, they're definitely down on cards. And you still have Crow. Now, this is obviously very strong against Tearlaments. It's not necessarily the strongest against other decks, though it's still a pretty decent end board to have, because the Scythe lock itself is so strong. So even if they don't really care too much about Dweller, the fact that you're threatening Scythe lock in the standby phase or draw phase of your opponent's turn is quite strong. So I think that the board itself is really good for this upcoming format, where Tier is threatening to be just the best deck by a lot. So yeah, so as far as the cons of the strategy, does definitely use a lot of extra deck space. You know, you need to have space for Zolkin Crystal Wing, you need to have space for the Dagda, the Dweller. The Entis you're already playing, the Recital Styling is something I'm opting to play, but if you were, for example, playing the Elf, then you need the Elf and the second Entis, so you're playing an additional spot, and there's nothing else that's too crazy. But it definitely does take a toll on the extra deck. I'll show you the rest of the extra deck in a moment when I get to the deck profile portion, but this is the main kind of Alpha Zeta combo. You can still do other things. We're still playing IP Masquerader as another form of interruption if you would rather end on that, if you don't think that the end board is as good. Yeah, but that's the combo. In theory, I really like it, especially the fact that it does have that quick effect to kind of deal with the Scythe, to trigger the Scythe not in the main phase, because obviously Dark Ruler is a big staple card of the format. But I'll get into a deck profile and just show you what I'm playing. Okay, so for our deck profile, in the main deck, we're currently playing 41 cards, though I have an argument that it could be made for 45, though it just feels like a lot. I'll explain what we've kind of got so far. So for the Drytrons, we're playing the 3 Alpha, the 3 Zeta, we're just playing 2 Gamma, and 1 Delta. We are playing Prosperity, so 1 Delta here because they do kind of conflict, and it's just the Alpha Zeta, that's what we primarily want to see. So just playing the 9 names, it's definitely lower than what I would usually play. I would usually play 12 with the Gammas and all the Deltas, but now that I own Prosperity, I'm definitely going to try out the 1 Delta and just see how that goes. So 9 names. For the Fairy portion, We're playing 2 Diviner. Hopefully we're only normal summoning twice. 1 Artifact Scythe and 1 Chaos Valkyria for the effect monsters. These are all fairly self-explanatory. The Chaos Valkyria is just a nice level 4 special summon that gets us into Dweller. For the rituals, we are on 3 Cyber Angel Venten. Obviously it's now newly unlimited, so consistency is great. 1 Natasha and 1 Draconids. Draconids is just a house, so I wouldn't play without it. You don't need Ida-10 in this either. You can just use the Benten as the level 6. I mean, obviously the Ida-10 recycling the ritual is nice. I did try it initially, but it really just wasn't necessary. And we get 3 kind of steals with the Natasha as it is now too. For the spells, we are on 3 Cyber Emergency, on 3 Nova, 1 Fafnir, and 1 Medionis Drytron. Definitely you could play with the ratios here a little bit. I mean, a second Fafnir wouldn't be too amiss. Definitely has applications in the Sprite matchup specifically, being able to reduce levels. And then the last of the spells, as I mentioned, was 3 Prosperity. Just a generically good card. The rest of the deck, and I've got 12 spots currently that gets me to 41 cards, is actually hand traps or disruptive cards. Now, I don't know what the best 12 are at this point. I've opted more for hand traps because but it's just what I'm trying at the moment. I'm fairly comfortable with hand traps in Drytron. We're on the triple Ash, triple DD Crow, triple Dark Ruler Normal, and triple Infinite Impermanence. Now this is not necessarily the perfect ratio or anything, or the best choices for the format. This is just what I'm initially going with. I had 12 spots. DD Crow is going to be obviously one of them. Dark Ruler I also really like. The Dark Ruler could definitely be droplets, though. As far as your your hand advantage and when you're going second, if you're already using other hand traps, then the droplet is not necessarily the pick. Definitely you could side deck it. The other alternative to this would be not playing something like Ash. You could definitely replace Ash with Preparation of Rites, just for additional consistency. You could replace the Ash with other names. For example, you could play the 3rd Gamma, which would be not a bad choice. The 2nd Fafnir as well you could play. The other 2 cards that were in the main deck, I'm just taking that for now because I like the idea of having 41, is Called by and Harpies. That means we're at 43. And like I said, you could definitely push to 45 with the 3rd Gamma and a 2nd Fafnir, for example, so you still have consistency as far as names go, or Preparation of Rites. If you chose to, take the Ash out and you had just 9 spots for those, hand trap board breakers, you'd definitely probably play more board breakers. So you could change the Imperm to the droplet. But definitely I like the Crow. I mean, you could even just play 1 Crow and search it off the Recital Starling. But then going second, you kind of want to have it. I think hand traps for tier specifically they do a better job than the board breakers. But it's 43 with Called by Harpies. If you were going to keep Called by Harpies in, I would definitely add 2 more cards to go to 45, just adding more consistency, because you definitely want to see Alpha Zeta as your opening play, or access to Benten's good too. The extra deck is very tight, as I mentioned. I'll kind of explain where the flex spots are along the way. Double Fafnir, you definitely just play 2. It's very standard, of course. Beatrice is necessary when you only open 1 name and access to Benten, because that way you can still kind of play the game. And Beatrice would be really good as well post side. I haven't got a side deck prepared or anything for this video, but something like Zombie World, Necro Banshee definitely are pretty okay. Yeah, Beatrice can obviously send a number of different interesting cards that you could play. Dweller for this is the rest of the XCs, Recital Starling, and Zeus. So obviously I'm not playing the Downed. I had to make cuts somewhere along the line. I just thought that the Link monsters offered more flexibility. With the Zeus, obviously you're only going to pull off 1 send, and if they've got a response, they've got a response. But I'm kind of just keeping the Zeus in as a single use wipe the field button if I can. If anything, it definitely baits out things as well. So having it is there, and then your opponent as well potentially is fearful of the the downer that comes down as well. So they might even deal with the Mu Beta or whatever before you go to battle. Then the synchros, we're playing the Crystal Wing, the Zolkin, and the Herald. And then the fusions, the 1 Entis. So like I said, a lot of these are fairly necessary. You can't really cut anything here. Yeah, you can't really cut anything here. It's all pretty important. The link monsters, apart from the Dagda, are all essentially flex spots, so you could kind of pick and choose what you wanted to play in these spots specifically. But so far I'm on access code, Unicorn, IP, Dagda, and Anima. Your zones don't matter. You don't need the downward arrow for Anima. So we're not going to, for Link Rebo, for example, so we're going to play Anima. It's just, punishes poor play from the opponent if they play into it. Dagda is necessary for the combo, but essentially these 4 here are your flex spots. You probably definitely want to play some kind of win button. I've gone for access code over Boral Sword in this instance, just because going second, if we can keep our opponent on a fairly average board, then access can definitely clean up with the ability to pop. I'm not playing something like Phoenix or Cerberus, so Unicorn into access is probably the route that I would be going in a game. This is currently untested as far as gameplay goes. I'm testing the Travelgrade sprite for an upcoming regionals, but this is just an idea I had. Definitely you can play with the flex spots here in the extra deck, but I really liked the concept of being able to search the Dweller and activate Dweller, Scythe your opponent, search DD Crow as well, or with just standard Alpha Zeta. But what I'll do now, I'll do some test hands, just some opening draws and seeing what we can do with it. Okay, so just doing a very quick shuffle, and for our first one, so I'm not going to really play these out, we're just going to kind of look at them and see if we have the ability to play the game. Okay, so definitely we know that the Delta and the Prosperity do conflict. If we were to activate Prosperity here, banishing 3, we would reveal Ben 10, Impermanence Ben 10. We definitely take the Ben 10, so we have kind of definitely playing the game here. Yeah, we're actually totally fine here because we don't. The Delta kind of represents the Alpha in that we've already got the Ben 10. We don't get to use the Delta draw, but that is the combo right there anyway. Plus with the Dark Ruler, so if we were going second, we're feeling pretty good about that. Okay, for our second one, have Natasha, Delta, Draconids, Imperm, and Prosperity. For this hand here, it's not looking too great. Prosperity kind of has to hit something, so we're probably forced to banish 6 here. As far as the 6 that we banish, probably take out a few of these, take out the Anima. I don't often go into the Anima. I don't really like the idea of playing into Bell. We can take out the Lyrilisk here. It's kind of just extra. That's for... This is where testing we're coming, because I'm not, again, used to playing with Prosperity. We probably hang on to the Beatrice because of... we could just take out Ultimaya and Crystalline. I know that obviously shuts down a lot of the combo, but then I guess if we're doing that, should we be taking out Dweller? We're not really making the Dweller otherwise, so the Dweller is fairly useless. We put the Lyrilisk back in here, or the Anima. Anyway, let's say we banish 6. It's a tricky choice though, with the extra being as tight as it is. Fafnir is good, Medionis, Gamma, Cyber Emergency, and Gamma. So we're probably taking the Fafnir here for Nova. And we're still playing the game. Obviously it's going to be it's not the full combo being that we banished choices of Prosperity, but we kind of had to see something there. Though usually I definitely would like to banish 3. Okay, here we have Nova. Scythe, Delta, Gamma, and Impermanence. Okay, so definitely we are playing the game. We've got lots of great choices. Mu Beta being able to send something that's not Gamma, so the Alpha or the Zeta, whichever one we're kind of missing, probably the Zeta. This is great, and because we've opened the Scythe, we can end on the IP where we would have ended on the Dagda. So it just gives us an additional interruption. Had the Impermanence there as well as a going second card, which is nice. Nova, Zeta, Nova, Alpha, and Gamma. So no, obviously going second cards. Drytron does a fairly decent job of, kind of pushing through things, but depending on what we're up against, it could be rough. Alpha, Zeta is nice, and Nova. So we've got access to all 4 names, and it just depends on what our opponent is up to. Okay, so this obviously does represent the Alpha Zeta, so that's the combo. Scythe is good. Again, we can end on the IP instead. The Dark Ruler as a going second card is awesome. And the Diviner, because we've searched the Diviner here, or we've drawn it in our opening hand, we can use one of our Ben-10 searches for the 3rd Ben-10 or the Natasha, either one. They just represent ritual follow-up going into our next turn to then kill our opponent. So seeing it in hand is fine. Just means we can consistently end on follow-up there as well. Having the ritual in hand with all the Drytrons in graveyard is always a good feeling. Ben-10, Prosperity, Nova, and Imperm. So we've got the makings of the 1 name hand. With Prosperity for 3, and already we're happy days with any one of those to complete our combo. Okay, we'll just do a couple more and then call it a day. We've got Ash, Natasha, Ash, Scythe, and Ben-10. So that's awful. That is not something that you want to see ever. We're definitely doing one more, and we're not going to end on that one because that was horrible. Ash, Alpha, Ash, Medionis, DD Grow. Okay, we can't end on that. That's awful too. So 2 hand traps. In a hypothetical world, if we were going second, we use the Ash and the DD Crow at some point in our opponent's turn, and for our turn we draw the Alpha. Yeah, we're not looking good. Can't end on that one. Got to end on something a bit better. Nova, Ash, Delta, Ben-10. Okay, we're happy days here. And Gamma, very happy days here. The 1 hand trap, if we were going second, the Ash being 1 low impact hand trap is not ideal, but again, we know that Drytron has the capabilities to kind of push through boards. And we do have the makings of combo, not the makings of, we've got the combo right there. Hypothetically, we're going second, we ditch the Ash, we draw for turn, it's a Diviner. Yeah, we've definitely got our work cut out for us, but we've got lots of kind of gas to try and push through what our opponent has ended on. But otherwise, that is the deck profile. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the combo. The combo was the main part of the video, so if you stuck around, cheers, appreciate it. But let me know what you think about the combo. I think it's interesting. I definitely think it's got potential against Tearlaments. The big downside is, of course, the big chunk of the extra deck that it does take up. But then again, by playing more hand traps and things in the main deck, you don't need as much of the extra deck tools to help break the board, because hopefully you're breaking the board a little bit as your opponent is building it, if that makes sense. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.